Champagne is perhaps the most recognizable wine in the world, and its effervescence is synonymous with luxury and celebration.
First of all, you know that Champagne is about 150 kilometers from Paris in a region called le Bassin Parisien. Bassin means a cup. And it's a cup because it's an old sea. That's very important to understand Champagne.
The evolution of Champagne started with Benedictine monks of the late 1600s, but a complete understanding of the second fermentation at the heart of sparkling Champagne took almost 2 centuries to develop. Legends may have him seeing stars, but Dom Perignon's most important contribution was in making a white wine with red grapes. As time passed, winemakers refined the style and the grape varieties used to make today's modern sparkling wine.
Today we have 3 grapes variety, which are the Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Meunier only. Because I think they are the 3 best one for maybe the best quality and the best maturity.
The cities of Reims and Epernay are the twin hubs of the Champagne business. And the region is divided into 5 districts that specialize in particular grapes. The 3 core districts are the Côte de Blanc, Montagne de Reims, and the Vallée de la Marne. 2 lesser-known districts are to the south, the Côte de Sezanne and the larger Aube, which spans 150 kilometers, extending toward Chablis. The Marne River runs through the center of the region, forming the valley that bears its name.
So we are in Mareuil-sur-Aille. Part of the Vallée de la Marne here is generally called the Grande Vallée de la Marne, the Greater Marne Valley. Because it's quite wide. Since it's facing south and since the soil is generally of chalk, it's a very, very good terroir, a very good climate for Pinot Noir. And that's what we grow here, is our preferred grapes. More to the west, people tend to grow more Pinot Meunier.
We can say that you will find mainly Pinot Meunier in the Vallée de la Marne. This region is very sensitive to the frost in spring, and the main advantage of the grapes variety of the Meunier, it's because the cycle vegetation starts later than the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir.
The Côte de Blanc is south of the Marne River.
The Côte des Blancs is the kingdom for Chardonnay in Champagne. It's about 15 kilometers long coast, south-north. That means exactly the same exposure as the Burgundy coast. And the vineyard is planted east face, which is, a very important thing for the Chardonnay.
Côte de Blanc's vineyards are characterized by chalky white soils.
The bedrock where we grow our vine is old sediment of a very, very old sea. So it's small shells.
North of the Marne is the Montagne de Reims.
Montagne de Reims is mainly planted with Pinot Noir because our soil is clay and chalky soil, and this is maybe the best expression for the Pinot Noir.
The Montagne de Reims and its Pinot Noir from Grand Cru villages such as Ambonnay, Verzenay, and Bouzy have long been associated with Champagne's most full-bodied wines. Champagne has a turbulent history as a wine region, famously illustrated by the controversial inclusion of the Aube in the beginning of the 20th century and the riots that ensued.
The historical situation in 1911 was quite different from what it is today.
So Aube for many years was considered like a subpar region.
In 1911, we were in the middle of the phylloxera crisis. The champagne producers were lacking grapes, and they were buying grapes or wines outside the Champagne appellation. And in 1908 and 1911, some regulation was passed to stop that. This was the beginning of the official Champagne appellation.
When the Aube wanted to join the Champagne, then the people in the Champagne region, like in the Marne region especially, didn't want it. So there was a big fight between the Aube and the other, the traditional Champagne region, I must say.
Every grandparents go on the road with their bicycle and go to Épernay to say, no, we want to stay in Champagne.
And it was ugly. I mean, it resulted in people dying. You're talking like serious village fights in a way. The army came from Paris and had to calm everybody down. So it was pretty ugly.
And that is precisely why they passed, in a very urgent manner, this regulation that let the Aube out. And of course, the people in the Aube, the wine growers in the Aube, reacted immediately and requested that they be reintegrated into the region, which was done almost immediately. So, in my mind, they've always belonged to Champagne.
In Burgundy, single vineyards are designated as Grand Cru, whereas in Champagne, entire villages bear the designation.
Of course, it's not the perfect classification. Of course, you can imagine vine or grapes coming from the vineyard close to the forest are not the same quality as grapes downtown to the vineyards, the heart of the vineyards, same for the bottom.
In the past, grape prices were set according to a village's status. Grand Cru villages received 100% of the established price, and the other villages earned a reduced amount.
What made a Grand Cru in the past was how much the Negociant were willing to pay for the grapes. A few years ago, that fixed price became illegal. So even though the scale has disappeared in terms of when you buy grapes, it's now a bit different, though the classification remains as Grand Cru vineyards, Premier Cru vineyards, and Cru.
In recent years, there has been an increasing focus on grower-producers, who often craft wines from individual villages with regional characteristics.
Simply, it means that our wine, our champagne are made from our grapes, our vineyards exclusively. That means we don't buy grapes, we don't buy juices, we don't buy wine to make our champagne.
While there is no inherent quality difference between a grower-producer and a negociant, each has unique challenges and advantages.
The benefit is you are able to manage your way of farming by yourself, but it's risky if you have bad weather conditions, if you have hailstorms, if you have spring frozen, strong spring frozen, you can lose your crop.
While grower-producer bottlings may highlight a particular village or vineyard, the traditional maison makes an art out of blending components from multiple sources to achieve consistency in their non-vintage offerings and realize the finest expression of champagne in their tête de cuvée.
The key of champagne success was the blend.
A Negociant can really aim at recreating the same style and same consistency of taste year after year, also using reserve wines and all the tools he has. Customers and consumers that are loyal to the brand, to a certain brand, are expecting year after year.
The stylistic range of champagne is broader than many consumers realize. One reason for its continued success with true aficionados is the wine's ability to pair with a surprisingly wide range of foods.
Oysters or scallops.
I like to pair champagne with dishes that you'd normally pair with red wine, especially when they're made from Pinot Noir. Can go all the way down to meat, or even red meat.
All cheese, especially matured hard cheese, Parmigiano.
Champagne has changed in style over the years. In the 1800s, it was a sweet wine typically consumed after dinner. Today, it's much drier and often sipped at the start of a meal. The exact level of sweetness is controlled by the winemaker and governed by the fashion of the day.
Little by little, champagne got drier and drier.
À une recherche sur des champagnes beaucoup plus sans dosage, donc des champagnes beaucoup plus tendus, beaucoup plus directs, beaucoup plus francs.
The trend now is lower dosage. It's a strong trend.
Recent decades have seen a growing interest in wines from individual cru villages and even single vineyard bottlings, a marked divergence from Champagne's history as a blended wine.
Champagne used to be a blended wine from a very wide array of origins of grapes. And the result of this very, very wide blending was a certain homogeneity in the wines themselves, between vintages and also between producers. What I see today among the better producers is that they are trying to put more personality into their wines.
From the 18th century salons of Paris to the modern dinner party, champagne has become an indispensable ally in the pursuit of good conversation and a celebration of life. Sommeliers have rediscovered the wine as an asset at the table, and lovers of champagne have more choices in style and quality than ever before. The Guild of Sommeliers is a non-profit membership organization for wine professionals